Hey all, and welcome to Shadow Space, and we are commenting on another BZP video. This is called Democrat Triggered After Confronted to His Face with Brutal Reality Check on Democrat Lies to Voters. This was uploaded May 5th. This is being recorded May 7th, and link is in the description.
The
We're pumping them
you and I
out.
tend liberal, and when we see the root causes of this affordability crisis, I think we tend to focus on Republicans cutting Medicaid, on
Tariffs.
minimum wage laws, take all kinds of kind of conservative policies that I think truly do magnify the problem. But I think Suzanne also raises a legitimate point that in our blue places where we have governance, we have every bit as much of an affordability crisis, in part because of a stranglehold of regulations. And, we talk a good game about the importance of education, and yet a black kid in Mississippi.
See, but Bill Maher didn't push back on that when Gavin Newsom talked about the permits. 60% increase in permits, building permits.
Is 2.5 times as likely to be proficient in math and reading by fourth grade as a black kid in California. And so having
Go back.
black kid 2.5 times of education, and yet in part because of a stranglehold of regulations. And, we talk a good game about the importance of education, and yet a black kid in Mississippi is 2.5 times as likely to be proficient in math and reading by fourth grade as a black kid in California. And so...
And there have been videos, I've seen them, of teachers in like 4th or 5th grade commenting, being like, the kids can't read. They're reading at like a 1st grade level, kindergarten level, 2nd grade level. They aren't reading at the level that they're supposed to be. And then you want to say something as ridiculous as, we need to get rid of grades. Of course you do, because you're all failing. Because if you had actual grades that reflected your ability, your understanding of the source material, you would all fail spectacularly.
do we need to look a little bit less at what the Trump administration is doing to harm working class families and look a little more in the mirror?
Boy. So, you gotta talk about this heated exchange between former governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, who I'm pretty sure a lot of Virginians are missing right now because of the fact that they unknowingly voted in a far-left socialist lunatic in Abigail Spanberger because she campaigned as a moderate, but once she got in office, she went full mask off and became a far-left socialist, okay? And Virginia voters are currently regretting their decision. But this is par for the course when it comes to what the Democrats have to offer the American people. Okay?
It's their playbook, because they know that the game is to get in power. The game is to not actually do what the people that you represent want. The game is to tell them what you think they want to hear so that they vote for you, so that when you get in power, you can just do whatever you want.
Bait and switch.
That's being a career politician.
As moderates, but when they govern, when they actually get in office, they show you that they're not moderate. And Glenn Youngkin is going to call out this fact in this debate against Rahm Emanuel here that took place at the Milken Institute Global Conference. And Rahm Emanuel is going to lose his mind. Rahm Emanuel, if you guys aren't familiar with him, he was an ambassador under Obama and former mayor of Chicago. He is somebody that a lot of Democrats and people in the mainstream liberal media are speculating could possibly run in 2028, right? He is positioning himself as a so-called moderate Democrat, right? As a reasonable Democrat. But as you're going to see here, there's nothing unreasonable about so-called moderate or reasonable Democrats. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
What's going to happen in November? And
Well,
it's going to come as a big shock to you.
it's all self-definition. I can call myself whatever I want, but if what I call myself isn't real, then it doesn't matter.
People don't like corruption. They don't like the White House looking like eBay. And you have sold, if it ain't nailed down, you've sold everything. And they don't like a set of politics that goes from the rule of law to the rule of one man. And they're going to reject crony capitalism that has been now the rule of what's happening at the White House. And you're going to get your comeuppance. Now, you can say all you want about socialism. I can tell you right now that's not where the Democratic Party is. It's about building the middle class.
Yeah, how can you say that when Mamdani is a socialist?
But, Glenn, I want to
popular leaders. The most popular leaders in the Democrat Party today.
I want to compliment
are
you.
avowed socialists.
I want the most popular leader in the Republican Party has sold everything that's not nailed down. Take that ballroom and take everything that's going on with his kids, with what's Secretary of Commerce's kids, and with Witkoff kids. They are making money in this government, and you went into public service to serve good. And I compliment you.
And so did you. And so did you. And now you're sitting here defending a party that wants to have
and you did not walk out. You did not walk out $4 billion richer.
Ron, you may have a point, but
Yeah. So I love when Democrats want to call out this administration about alleged corruption, claiming that the Trump administration is selling out. Now, I'm not entirely sure who he's selling out to, right? But, you know, this is what they claim. As if Democrats did not sell out when Biden was in office to the teachers union, right?
Well, again, right?
Democrats
Like
sold out the country to the
the ballroom. Oh, they're selling out. That's going to be construction jobs. That's going to be contractor jobs. That's going to be things that are going to get people paid. Those are things that are going to be bringing commerce to the area. They don't want it.
teachers union because their rationale for why they wanted to keep schools closed, which resulted in massive learning loss for students during the pandemic, is because the teachers union was opposed to opening back up schools, right? They were opposed to in-person learning. And the Democrats adopted this policy of keeping schools closed because that's what the teachers union paid for, right? Democrats are the same people who were bought and sold by Big Pharma to push an experimental vaccine into people's arms and to threaten people's livelihoods because they refuse to take the vaccine.
Don't even talk about that. Like, the rise of, like, GLP-1s. Like, all of this injectable weight loss medication. Like, billions of dollars. $1 billion industry. Basically overnight.
Vaccine. So again, it's so funny to me how Rahm Emanuel.
That's big pharma. That is you lining the pockets of pharmaceutical billionaires because you can't lose weight the normal way, because you can't do it like other people.
To talk about big companies buying the White House or whatever, right? Whatever he's trying to say here, whatever point he's trying to make. But I'm like, I can give you some much more devastating examples that actually negatively affected the whole country of Democrats crafting policy because they sold out to big industries, right? The big teachers union, Democrats sold out. They literally shut down the country. They literally hurt our children because of the teachers union. And again, they forced an experimental vaccine into people's arms because of Big Pharma, which is on a whole nother level of corruption and actual impact on American people than whatever Don Jr. and Eric Trump are involved in that the media claims is, the Trump is using the White House in order to, enrich himself, which what they actually really mean is his kids more so than anything, right?
Well,
Trump
again,
kid.
how does a new ballroom at the White House with anti-drone proofing tech and all of these different structural enhancements, how is that enriching himself? He isn't going to be living at the White House forever. The next person who gets after him is going to get that ballroom, and the person after him is going to get that ballroom until it gets redone again, which may or may not happen. So, how is he doing it for himself? Yeah, he gets to put his name on the building. It's other people that use the building. I don't get it.
Being businessmen, right, all their lives, right, for whatever reason, the media expects them to stop doing business, right, just because the president is in office. It's like, well, that's kind of not how it works. They're his kids. They're allowed to do business. Hunter Biden was openly influence peddling, even though he had no real business experience. But, apparently he became an oil executive out in Ukraine, even though he never worked in the oil industry, right? All of a sudden, this guy is sitting on the board of some foreign energy company while Joe Biden's vice president is currently in negotiations with Ukraine, right? And making all types of demands that clearly benefit his son and his business interests in Ukraine. Again, where was Rahm Emanuel on that? Again, where are all these people? All these people who are so concerned about the Trump family corruption, aka Eric Trump and Trump Jr. engaging in business activities that they were engaged in.
It's only corruption when they say it is. Again, it's self-defined. If I don't see it as corruption, if I don't label it as corruption, if I don't define it as corruption, then it's not. If you can't ever convince me that it's corruption, then I'm never going to think it is. I'm never going to treat it like it is.
Before
Because to me, it
president
isn't.
became the president of the United States again, right? Something they've been doing their whole lives, which is engaging in business. All that outrage, where was that outrage over Hunter Biden, right? When Hunter Biden was being investigated, when Joe Biden was being investigated, these people said, no, this is a far-right conspiracy theory, right? That Joe Biden saw Hunter Biden, he can make his own money. That he's his own person. Just because he's making money out there in Ukraine and, he's on the board of an energy company and Joe Biden's dealing with foreign policy stuff, hey, don't worry about conflict of interest, right? Not a big deal. Nothing to see here, okay? So I don't want to hear this. He tries to pretend as if lobbying is somehow unique to Republicans. Yeah, companies lobby Republicans, companies lobby Democrats. But the companies that lobby Democrats, the industries, the unions that lobby Democrats, like, for example, the teachers' unions, I can give you concrete examples of their influence over Democrats because they bought the Democrat Party, and that led to policy that actually hurt children nationwide. So I don't want to hear anything about the Trump family. I don't want to hear nothing about that because the whole Democrat Party is bought, right, by the billionaire class, and the policies that they incorporated during the pandemic on behalf of that billionaire class hurt.
They have to get the money from somewhere. If they get the money from the billionaires, then they have to be on good terms with the billionaires, so the billionaires will continue to give them money. Of course, they're in their pockets.
This country,
like,
in very, very, very bad ways. That
I don't know where
today.
you think all this stuff is coming from. Otherwise,
I can say about this administration, and you really come to appreciate this stuff, right? Is that they're not shy about what you probably should be invested in, right? They're not shy about, hey, these are the industries that are probably going to do well, right? Because we're crafting these policies. This is what we're focused on. These industries are generally going to do well. If you're paying attention, you probably made a whole lot of money on the Trump, right? If you're investing properly, listening to what the administration is saying, yeah, you probably can make a whole lot of money, right? It's not like they're making it a secret in regards to, where the money is, right? So I
don't know.
actually come to appreciate that, right, from this administration. At least they're being open, right? They're open. Democrats, though, they're not open. They behind closed doors. They make money and they don't allow other people to get in on it, right? At least with the Trump administration, they allow everybody to get in on it, right? Everybody can get. Trump told people to buy right after Liberation Day, right? If you would have bought at the bottom when Trump told you to buy, right, you would have made a lot of money. You would have made a fortune in a short amount of time. I appreciate that, right? We can all make money together. I'd rather make money with the corrupt politicians than for the corrupt politicians to make money by themselves and to leave everybody else hanging. I'm just saying.
Because how the corrupt politicians make money by themselves is by taking it from other people.
This is why. Let me just begin.
You are deflecting, I think it's.
Big time.
There is, you do have, look, I live in New York City, the Socialist Republic of New York City. Thank you very much for that. We've seen it. You talked about Mikey Sherrill, the candidate to replace Mikey Sherrill in Congress. very much in the Zoran Mamdani AOC mold. That seems to be where you ask you poll people.
See, the problem is that your party is divided between the old Democrats, the old regime, the old guard, and the new Democrats, who are the communists, who are the socialists, who want to go towards, who truly believe that that state is the more utopian state. You can sit here and deny it and say, no, we don't have anyone who's a socialist in the party. I don't know why you would say that, but it's not true.
Democrats seem to like these.
Mikey Sherrill ran in a 5-person field, and there was the mayor of Newark, the mayor of Jersey City, the president of the teachers union. She won the nomination. Another person, the congressman, 50% of the electorate of the new Democratic primary, where you had multiple choices, was the 2 most conservative members. That was also.
So what does that mean? You think that just because there was one election where you voted for more conservatives means that Zoran isn't a socialist? Doesn't mean that Democrats, that non-politically, I don't want to say active, no one in the government, just normal people agree with.
True in Virginia and Northern Virginia to replace Jerry Connolly. 11 candidates, one got 59.
Listen to that rally that Kathy Hochul was at, where the people started chanting, "Eat the rich." That's you, dog. They want to eat you. Like
the most conservative member. So I actually reject, and if you looked at Manhattan Institute, your paper wrote about this. Manhattan Institute does a poll of Democratic primary voters. To literally 50% describe themselves as moderate. I know where the noise is.
See, but that's irrelevant. If they're calling themselves moderate, then I don't even know what I am. I don't know what I am.
But I also know where the voters are, and it's not the same.
So if I can, first of all, one thing that I believe is that the challenge we have in politics today is you can't have a discussion without someone unable to wait until it's their turn. And so just wait until I finish. And I will respect your time, and you can respect mine, because that's the way we should treat each other as Americans and as folks that do respect the service that you've had. So I firmly believe that what is happening today in the Democratic Party, and I've watched it happen up close in Virginia, is an effort to present as a moderate, because that's what Americans want. They want...
Well, again, you can present as whatever you want, but what actually are you? Presentation is part of it, but it isn't the most important part.
Practical, common sense solutions that make sense in their lives. And yet,
if you're a scorpion, but you don't look like a scorpion, you look like a leaf or something, it does not deny that you're a scorpion.
What we saw in Virginia was someone who presented
largely
themselves
irrelevant
that way and then turned around immediately and literally enacted policy decisions that she had said on the road she would not do. And that's why she is the lowest rated from a favorable standpoint governor in modern Virginia history, because she told people that she had no interest in redistricting.
So what does that have to do with socialism?
People that she was going to work to bring costs down and make things more affordable. And the first actions she took were the exact opposite. And that is the issue today, which is I firmly believe that the challenges that we see with favorability in the Democratic Party, and as we said earlier, there are challenges in the Republican Party as well, but that challenge in the Democratic Party, I firmly believe, is rested in the fact that it is a party that is moving strongly to the socialist side of things, is presenting itself as moderate, and there are no moderates in the Democratic Party today who are winning. It's just that simple. Who, by the way, they may win at a ballot box, but when they start leading and serving, they are demonstrating something very different.
All right, Ron.
Facts. Glenn Youngkin is correct. I mean, this is not up for debate, really. The Democrat Party, the base is far left. And the Democrat Party is far left because that's what the base wants. I mean, this...
Well, see, no, he didn't even talk about being far left. His entire argument was, you have people in your party who claim to be moderate, but then don't enact moderate policies, or engage in rhetoric. Once they get in positions of power, they don't engage in rhetoric in a moderate way, in an independent way. They immediately take a very slanted partisan position. You can't, just because someone says that they align themselves one way, doesn't necessarily mean that they align themselves that way.
Has been studied. This is not a matter of opinion at this point. Rob Emanuel is in denial.
I'm not really surprised that Kathy Hochul decided to, in fact, endorse R.M. Mandani, because the fact is, socialism is not a four-letter word in Democratic primaries, not among Democratic voters. It's a five-letter word in the minds of a lot of Democrats, that five-letter word being great. Look at this. Net popularity of socialism among Democrats. You go back to 2010, it was plus 7 points. Look how high it is now, up like a rocket, up to plus 36 points. That's a jump of nearly 30 points on the net popularity scale among Democrats in just 15 years. And I was looking at the polling from New York City, and what you see is the clear plurality of New York City Democrats think the idea of having a socialist mayor is a good idea, matching what we see nationally. The bottom line is socialism isn't a dirty word among Democrats at this particular point. It's actually a word that, when attached, Democrats seem to like it.
That's a huge jump, and that's not that long ago, let me add.
No.
What about capitalism?
Yeah, okay, so if all of a sudden socialism is now a five-letter word, great. What I would say is capitalism in the mind of Democrats is a three-letter word, bad. What are we talking about? Net popularity of socialism among Democrats. Look at this trend. It was plus 8 points in 2010 on the positive side of the ledger. Look at where we are in 2025. Down, falling through the floor at minus 13 points. That's a drop of over 20 points in just 15 years. So we see the exact opposite trend that we see at socialism, which is up, up, and away. What we see with capitalism is down, down, down through the floor.
Okay, we're talking about Democrats here. What about if you look at the larger population, Harry? Is it the same type of thing?
This is where the danger is for Democrats, because if socialism plays in Democratic primaries, it does not play in the general electorate. What do we see going on here? Net popularity among all adults. Capitalism is on the positive side of the ledger at plus 12 points. Socialism way, way, way underwater at minus 18 points.
Yeah. The Democrat Party is a socialist party. That's not up for dispute anymore. It's just not. Graham Plattner.
Well, not all of them are. This guy might not be. Bill Maher isn't. There are some people on the left who aren't far left. Like, if Bill Maher could get his Democrat guard back, I imagine that he wouldn't be an independent. He would define himself as a Democrat. The only reason that he doesn't define himself as a Democrat is because he doesn't feel that the Democrat Party represents him, because they've embraced all of this nonsense.
Up in Maine,
This is like John Fetterman. He's still a Democrat. He doesn't agree with Republicans on every issue. Just because he got kicked out of his party, just because his party doesn't like him, doesn't mean that he isn't identified with his party. Just because the Democrats don't want him doesn't mean he's not a Democrat.
Socialist. He forced Janet Mills, the incumbent governor, who got the endorsement of the whole Democrat establishment, moderate, quote unquote, right? Current sitting governor. She dropped out of the Senate race against a far left socialist, Nazi socialist, right? And you try to tell me,
Yeah, she couldn't get money.
that moderates control the Democrat Party, that the Democrat Party is moderate, that the voters are moderate? Hell no. Hell no. Rob Emanuel he's delusional. This is just not true.
We've got a little more time than on the clock, I was told, because it was such a fascinating conversation. So, but respond to that, Ram, and then I do want to get on to at least one subject of policy.
Let me just say this on the redistricting. This all started in Texas.
It's not true.
Well, I respected the respect part, didn't I?
I got it. I'm going to bite my tongue. My wife would have yelled at me by now. So
yeah. Well, let me do it for her.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. She's not here, so let me handle it for
okay.
you. Okay. Yeah. In fact, let's start with our pillow talk. I'm not too happy about this marriage anyway.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah, see? Just file for divorce. The countries should just separate. Clearly they can't reconcile their differences. Clearly they're just two different people, and they need to just move on.
Don't worry. We have time.
Quit trying to stay together just because you're upset about what's going to happen with the kids. That's irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, that may say a lot about the two of us. So number one, start redistricting.
Yeah, but it's not a wrong characterization of the issue.
Has been started here in a way, and I'm watching China. They're working on research. We're working on redistricting. We're working on ballrooms.
Well,
and they're working
because they aren't at war with themselves. They aren't having a cultural conflict over what a woman is and who gets to use bathrooms and who's allowed in what sports. All of this nonsense that you think is important isn't that important.
working on bullet trains. This is you can sit there and say this. Do we have challenges on our party? I was there before you were there. Now, be quiet, be quiet.
I was doing something else.
Governor, I did respect you.
You did.
I respected your minutes,
I wasn't.
and I didn't interrupt. I'm asking for equal time here.
Got it.
Okay. Number two.
No,
And
you're
I
asking for
understand
more
your desire-
time because you have to spend so much time telling him to stop talking. Which, maybe that's an argument against him? That's as much an argument against you. The moment he stops, you should just keep going.
Do you want to say that about socialism, etc.? You got one mayor, and that is it. It doesn't define a party. I got many more senators, many more congressmen, many more governors who have actually, your colleagues that you used to work with, who are actually doing sensible policies, growing their economies, and etc. You will not defend, because I know you as a character person, you believe in actually the free market. That is not what's going on in this country. What's going on in this country is we're using a type of crony capitalism and corruption to define a political system. That is both true on the tariffs. It is true on how contracts are laid in the Pentagon. It is true of how they have been rewarding, penalizing, and it's hampering the economy.
So how is that different from any other time? When the Biden administration was giving out research grants indiscriminately for nonsense that didn't matter, this wasn't an issue. Now, because they're using it on a more secure ballroom, you're upset. I don't get it.
Now, I happen to think we have a challenge on our party, and the real challenges aren't ideological.
All right.
When you look at the last 25 years, the challenges for both parties is the establishment versus the anti-establishment.
Okay, look, you
and
both
it's
made
less
those
ideological.
Yeah. So, he's claiming that the main rift between the Democrats, right, is establishment versus non-establishment, which, could be true to a certain extent. The reality is, though, is that there is an ideological divide within the Democrat Party. That's a real thing. And it's not just establishment versus non-establishment. It's really socialist versus liberal, right? And the Democrat Party has been defeated, right? They folded to the socialist wing of their party.
No, they haven't been defeated. They've changed forms. There's something different now.
The liberal wing, right? I'm talking about the actual definition.
Some of them are different.
And the moderate wing, they don't have much juice anymore, right? All the so-called moderates, okay, have become Republicans, right? The classical liberals have become Republicans.
Well, no. All of the young Democrats are getting taught in school that socialism is the Democrat Party, and that socialism is the utopian ideal that all humanity is actually wanting to strive for. The truth is that there aren't enough Democrats that are old school Democrats to keep the torch going, because they don't care about the next generation. They only care about themselves. They don't care about legacy.
The ones that are not
like,
top of the range.
if you aren't a landlord, if you don't own property, you can't pass on you have no wealth to pass on to your next generation. They can't want something that they aren't actually going to get.
right? So all they're stuck with is socialists. That's the thing about Democrats, right? Democrats are not becoming a big tent party. Like that's the funny part about it. Democrats, their tent is socialists and anti-Trumpers. I mean, let's be real.
Well, because they don't when their solution is just kill people to get them afraid, to make them fall into line, you don't have to agree with them.
Any liberal, right, an actual liberal, right, and a moderate that's not Trump deranged, they're basically Republicans at this point. So Democrats have not become a big tent.
But they aren't though. They still are Democrats. It's the Democrat Party who gatekeeps what being a Democrat is, have denied them their Democrat card. And because their identity isn't their own, because their identity is based on someone else giving it to them, they feel lost, they feel abandoned. Where do they go?
Issues. And the far left is taking over. They have massive influence. The most popular politicians in the Democrat Party, as Glenn Youngkin laid out, are basically far leftists. Kamala Harris, the most progressive senator probably in the history of this country, right? Up there with Bernie, up there with Elizabeth Warren. Her voting record was known to be very, very, very progressive.
Well, I mean, again, right? Bernie Sanders, excellent example, was running for president. Granted, he didn't win. Granted, he didn't even get the nomination. But is still very much a prominent figure in politics. Is happily a socialist. How can you sit there and say that the party isn't socialists,
right?
or doesn't believe in socialism? That's silly.
Bernie's super popular, socialist. AOC super popular, socialist. Gavin Newsom, the most far left governor, basically a socialist, right? I mean, you talk about the top contenders for the Democrat primary in 2020. They're socialists or socialist adjacent. Zoran, very popular. Socialist.
I mean, to say that there's no... Because if socialism is the extremism of the left, to deny that socialism exists is like to deny that extremism on the right exists. Like, if you're going to call out right-wing extremism, then you have to also call out left-wing extremism. One is acceptable, the other isn't even happening.
Left and right in these liberal cities, and the most popular Democrats going into 2028 are socialists. But this guy is gonna try to tell you with a straight face, "Oh nah, bro, right? Nah, this is not a socialist party. We're moderates." It's like, no, moderates are getting their asses whooped in the primaries, and we're gonna see how that works out in the general election. But that's the reality. That's the reality. And the worst part about it is that Democrats lie. The ones who run as the ones who actually do win as so-called moderates, once they get in office, they govern like socialists, like progressives. So you can't even believe the Democrats that say they're moderate. You can't even believe them, which is why the Democrat Party is not a moderate party, as this guy is trying to frame them as. They're not. They are a socialist party, and I guarantee you, if he gets on stage, with this we're moderate thing, he's gonna lose. He doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell. This guy does not have a snowball's chance in hell of winning a Democrat primary, right? He just don't. But yeah, he's gonna try to tell you, "Oh yeah,
is he running? Is he already in a position? What do his prospects look like? I have no idea."
Party's moderate. No, right? No, absolutely not, sir. We're not falling for that. Good job, Glenn Youngkin. This guy got a reality check on where his party currently is. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share.
Well, I mean, it really just goes to show the ignorance of the Democrats and the idea that they really aren't paying attention to what's going on in their own party. They are happily in their own bubbles, head in the sand, not paying attention to what's going on because they're so focused on the Republicans and what they're doing that they aren't even paying attention to what's going on in their own spaces. It's the pot calling the kettle black. You refuse to acknowledge that groups like Antifa or socialist Democrats exist. Okay, well, the right refuses to acknowledge that neo-Nazis and right-wing extremists exist. So, again, I just see it as one side playing another. It's maximum warfare all the time, everywhere. That's what it seems like.